Yo fellas, how we doing? We're back once again. Depending when this video goes out, it might be 2 videos in one day. So my 14 subscribers, you guys are getting treated today. Either way, in the broadcast of UFC 330 yesterday, we got some huge fight announcements. We got the main and co-main for UFC 333. In the main event, we have got Evloev versus the champ Alexander Volkanovski, and in the co-main we have Peter Yan versus Merab 3. We also got some of the other fights on the main card and the card in general announced on the broadcast. Here you go. Like Salona Kavanagh, Volk of Kuniev, Arnold Allen's on the card, Reyes, Krylov, Grant Dawson, whatnot. We'll get into that later. But first of all, I want to give my predictions, my early predictions, and a slight breakdown to all of these fights. And my thoughts on the whole card in general, because this is a huge card compared to the slop we've been fed recently as UFC fans. And first of all, I'm going to talk about Yan Merab 3, the co-main event of this. I am so pumped for this fight. This is such a sick fight. It's been so long in the making. Well, they fought in December last year, and this fight's going to be at the end of October. I know Yan's had his injury problems, so that's maybe why it's taken so long. And Merab did take quite a bit of damage, but this is going to be such a sick fight. It feels good to have Peter Yan as champion. And I'm not going to tell you who I think's going to win yet because I want to have your watch time. Do you know what I mean? So stay tuned for that. This is going to be such a cool fight. I understand why it's in Abu Dhabi. Obviously, Peter Yan and them Russian guys get a pop out there. But it just... This is so cool to have two male title fights, two massive fights on the same card. It feels like the UFC, recently in the last couple of years have just maybe put one title fight on a card and maybe one men's title fight and a women's title fight like we had in UFC 330. Or just an interim title fight, or just weak. I mean, when was the last time we had two really big male title fights on a card? When was it? I guess maybe I don't think it's even happened this year. Maybe UFC 328 is the only time. But this is so cool to have these massive title fights all on one card. You know what I mean? Because you get to the co-main, you're like, yeah, Merab 3, that's a huge fight, and that finishes and like, oh my god, we've got Volk right after. That is what we should be expecting as UFC fans. And I think everyone kind of knew they were going to stack this Abu Dhabi card because of how weak 330 was, and how 331's not necessarily really weak, but it is, it's average for a pay-per-view card. You know what I mean? I'm surprised they haven't announced the any of the fights for 332 in Salt Lake City, which is at the start of October, because they do 2 pay-per-views in October. I'm surprised they haven't announced anything for that. And the thing I worry about is they've stacked this Abu Dhabi card, 2 amazing title fights and some decent fights on the rest of the card. Who are they going to do for the main event of the Salt Lake City card? I don't think Aspinall Garn will be there. I think Aspinall Garn will be in MSG in November. Joshua Van's books a flight. It can't be flyweight, can't be bantamweight, can't be featherweight. Lightweight. I don't think Gaethje's going to fight that early. Who else you got? Welterweight just fought. Middleweight, Strickland's not going to fight to the end of the year. Light heavyweight, Ulberg's out. Heavyweight, I don't think that'll be until MSG in November. So what are we going to do for the Salt Lake City in the start of October? I have a really bad feeling that's going to be an Amanda Nunes main event. Oh no, hell no. But let's hope not. But Yan Merab 3, let's get back onto this. It's going to be such a sick fight. I think Yan's going to do him. I think Yan's going to do him even worse than he did in the previous fight. I just think at this point in Merab's career, I don't think he can take as much damage, especially the nose. I think if Yan can really hurt Merab early and cause damage, I don't think Merab is going to be able to fight his best. And I think Merab's taking too much damage, and I think Yan's going to beat you up even worse here. I would go with Yan. I wouldn't be surprised if Merab gets this done. But Yan, he has so much more tricks in the bag than anyone Merab saw. I know the first fight they had a few years ago obviously was a complete domination Merab, 50-45s. But Yan said he was injured in that fight, and I think he was. I mean, I'm saying that, maybe a bit biased, but at the end of the day, like, look at the difference in the first and second fight, and Merab's arguably got better leading up to the second fight of Peter Yan than he did in the first one, And this is, Merab, the cardio he has for days, he will be there in the 5th round. If Peter Yan doesn't finish him, Merab will be there bouncing around, trying his best in the 5th round. You can't knock that. Merab is a tough fucker, and he stays in fights even when he's losing. And but Peter Yan's a tricky customer. He's the trickiest customer in the UFC. He's got such a bag of tricks. Nothing compared to Dustin Stoltzfus' bag of tricks, though. Eh? Dustin Stoltzfus is the new Louis Sutherland. He's got a bag of tricks. But yeah, Peter Yan, he's got so much more weapons compared to someone like a Sean O'Malley, and I like watching O'Malley fight, and I'd love to see, you know, Peter Yan versus O'Malley if Yan wins this fight. But Yan's got so much more tricks in the bag than someone like O'Malley. He mixes it up a lot more. You know, he can wrestle. You know, in the second fight, he took down Merab a couple times and even slammed on his head and defended the takedowns really, really well. And he mixes it up to the body a lot more than someone like O'Malley, and the body kicks of Peter Yan are just lovely. He hurt Merab really badly to the body there, and I think that's going to be the way again. He's going to chop down that tree, you know what I mean, start with the low kicks, work his way up to the body, and eventually start popping Merab with the jab. He's got a lovely jab, Peter Yan, and I think he's going to work everything off that. I think Peter Yan, it's going to be a really good night for Peter Yan. Either way, you know, there are plus sides if Yan does lose, unfortunately. You know, Merab, I'm not the biggest Merab fan in the world, but I appreciate what he's done in the sport. You know, the guy's an active champion, and that's, you know, that's what you ask for, as, you know, as a UFC fan. You want guys that are active, and the guy had 4 title fights in 1 year. That's insane. You know, and he has been in some entertaining fights, you know, and he's tough as fuck, so you got to give him that. And he's not as boring as people say he is. You know, he has had some boring fights. Don't get me wrong, Merab, but he's not as boring as people say. He's not boring compared to like a Pat Sabatini. You know, don't even get me started on Pat Sabatini. But Merab, he can be entertaining sometimes. You know, he has his boring moments. Don't get me wrong, but people overrate how boring he is. But yeah, he's an active champion. Merab, when he's champion, he's an active fighter anyway. And so either way, whatever happens here, the bantamweight division is in good hands, and the top of the bantamweight division is very looking good. You know, you've got Umar and Song soon. You know, I'd probably want Song Yadong to win that, just so we have some new faces in the title picture. Sean O'Malley's probably going to get a title shot if Yan wins, you know. But then if Merab wins and Song Yadong beats Umar, Song Yadong gets a title shot. If Umar beats Song Yadong convincingly, he'll get a title shot versus Merab in a rematch. So the bantamweight title picture is in good hands no matter what happens with this fight. I'm going to go with Yan in this one as an early prediction. We're going to talk about the main event next. Volk versus Evloev. Everyone knew this was going to be the fight to make after Evloev beat Lerone Murphy at the UFC London cards at the start of the year. This is I do think Volk gets this one done. I really do think Volk gets this one done. I mean, based off Evloev's previous performances, Evloev has got a hell of a resume. Don't get me wrong. In this division, I've got some very impressive wins. You know, Aljamain Sterling, Lerone Murphy, Arnold Allen one was a robbery. I'm not counting the Arnold Allen one. Arnold Allen won that fight. You know, he's got some great wins. Diego Lopez, I know it was a while ago and maybe Lopez wasn't as high ranked, and I think he took it on short notice, but great win nonetheless, and that's aged really, really well. You know, this is a bit disappointing because, you know, we were all asking for Diego Lopez versus Volkanovski 3. You know, I'm not sure why the UFC hasn't delivered. We all wanted that fight to be made, and the UFC's let us down once again, you know. Obviously, I'm joking, but yeah, this is a great fight, and I think Volk takes this one. I really do think Volk takes this one. I think he's too smart for Evloev, and literally, I mean, watching that Evloev versus Murphy fight, I was just set on like, yeah, Volk beats both these guys. He's too smart for them. You know, he mixes it up really well. He's more well-rounded than Lerone Murphy and Evloev. I just think Volk's too smart, and Evloev's not a massive power puncher. He does sit behind his punches sometimes, and he can land some really nice shots, but he's not the most technical striker, Evloev. He does land some nice shots, but he doesn't have the best technique. I think Volk's going to be doing really well here to stay out of range, stuff the takedowns, you know, kick and jab at range, you know, and kind of control his way around the octagon. And it's always good to see Volk back, you know. Peter Yan and Volk on one card. Life's good, you know. Life's good, October 24th. It's in Abu Dhabi, so the crowd probably is going to be a bit dead. But it's good for UK time. So again, a pay-per-view, good UK time. I am not complaining. Evloev, the crowd's going to be behind Evloev. I don't know why they're giving Volk this title defense in enemy territory. And you say, oh, but Evloev's Russian. Why? It's not enemy territory. Yes, it is. Them, like I said with Peter Yan, these Abu Dhabi guys, they love these Russian fighters. So they're going to be behind him. So Volk probably will be not the crowd favourite. Evloev will be the crowd favourite in this fight, if that makes sense. I think Evloev will be a tough fight. I think this could be like a 3-2 decision, Volk, 48-47. I see Evloev starting really strong in this fight, trying to push a pace on Volk really early, as you know, Volk is getting older and likes to like work his way into fights. You know, I can see Evloev trying to push a pace here straight away, but And still, let's go. Volkanovski. Look at all these guys. And you. Flipping hell. Where did these guys come from? They just hide in their little caves and they rush out as soon as one of their boys comes out. Either way, Volk's going to get this one done for the boys and co. And I do worry. Okay, I'm just going to say this about Volk. I do worry for Volk after this fight. If he wins, I do worry because there's a few guys coming up that I worry and I think, fuck Volk, mate. You might be in some trouble there, buddy. Like, I'm worried for guys like Kevin Vallejos, Gene Silva. You know, these type of guys coming up. I do worry Volk loses them type of guys. I really do. You know, I think he beats an Evloev. I think he beats an Aljamain Sterling. You know, an Aljamain Sterling he beats 100%. So if he stays around and maybe beats like an Aljamain Sterling or whatever, great. If not, I think he maybe should retire after this fight if he wins. You know, end on a win. You've had a great career. He's one of the GOATs. If he wins this fight, he's definitely in the right at the top of the conversation, in the GOAT conversation. I think he's top. I think he's probably top 3 in the GOAT conversation, in my opinion. And yeah, this is a great fight. I can't wait to see this one. Let's go Volk. They also announced some other fights on the card. They announced the whole main card. I'm pretty sure the main card is from Volk down to Arnold Allen and Aaron Pico. This is really weird matchmaking for Arnold Allen and Aaron Pico. Arnold Allen just beat Melquizel Costa, who's the number 12 ranked guy in the division, and could beat him up badly. Knocked him down multiple times, controlled him on the ground, bloodied it up badly, and then you give him the number 13 guy Pico, who beat the ghost of Pitbull, old man Pitbull. Like, what's that matchmaking? Aaron Pico should not be getting anyone in the top 5 or 6. I don't know what Allen's ranked. These are like the weird AI meta rankings, so I don't know what these rankings actually are, but I think Allen's about number 7 in the world. Pico should not be getting anywhere near the level of fight against someone like Allen. It's a joke, but Allen's gonna dust them up, mate. He's gonna dust them up, mate. Yeah. Allen's gonna beat Pico up bad. I talked about Pico in my fight earlier in this week. The most overhyped fighters in every division. Pico is overhyped. His striking gets overhyped because he beat the punching bag Pitbull up. Like, you know what I mean? Allen, he ain't seen anyone like Arnold Allen yet. Arnold Allen's gonna tiz him his way to a 30-27 decision. He might even get finished. Who knows? We haven't had an Arnold Allen finish in a while. I think the last one was. Fuck. When was the last one? Maybe I don't think he's had one since the Dan Hooker fight. We need an Arnold Allen finish. I'd love to see one and stop the hype train of Aaron Pico, where I don't even know where this hype train's come from. The guy's chinny as anything. Walked into a Lerone Murphy spinning elbow, and I don't even rate Lerone Murphy that much. You know what I mean? So I think Arnold Allen beats Lerone Murphy. I do think Arnold Allen wins this one. We've got other fights. We've got Volkov versus Kuniev. I mean, I don't mind this fight. It's gonna be cool. I like Kuniev fight. I've seen Kuniev fight. This last fight has been really entertaining. He's got nasty knees. He brings it against guys like Fortune. Beat Almeida, and his fight with Curtis Blades is really close. I do think Volkov's going to take this one just purely on size. I'm not sure if Kuniev can close the distance and land his knees as effectively on someone like Volkov. But what are they going to do with Josh Hockett now? Josh Hockett, I would think, was maybe getting a Volkov matchup. Do they give Josh Hockett Pavlovich maybe? But I don't know. You know what I mean? Do the UFC like Josh Hockett, or do they not like him? If they don't like him, they're giving him Pavlovich. You know what I mean? If they like him, they'll maybe give him like the winner of if Waldo wins against Curtis Blades, maybe they'll give him Waldo. It's one of them. We need some Josh Hockett fight news, guys. We need some Josh Hockett fight news. But either way, that's a decent fight. It's a top 5 heavyweight matchup. Volkov versus Kuniev. I don't mind that. Kavanagh versus Temerov. How is Temerov getting these matchups? The little steroid, whatever rat. I don't even know what he did. Did he even pop for steroids? I think he did. Either way, get onto it. Kavanagh is going to smoke this guy. 2 English fellas on the card. Going to smoke them all. Kavanagh takes this one. It's a bit of a risky fight for Kavanagh, though. Like, obviously, Temerov, he is very, very powerful. He's explosive as fuck. He's just a ball of tense muscle, but this is a dangerous fight for Kavanagh. But so is the Royval one, and obviously he came up just about short there, but he looked really good in the first and the second round. It was 1-1 going into the third, and he also hurt Brandon Royval really bad in the third before he got submitted. I'm a big Lorna Kavanagh fan. I think his fight style is amazing, and I do think he gets this one versus Temerov. I think this is a bit of a harder, bounce back fight. that maybe I would have liked as a Lona Kavanagh fan, but I respect the fact he's staying active. What he's fought, a few times this year. It's good. We like to see active fighters. The flyweight division is always entertaining, so this will be a great fight. Hopefully Kavanagh pulls it off. What else we got on here? We got Dominic Reyes, Azamat Murzakanov. I think the UFC want Dominic Reyes dead. I'm not being funny. Like, we know Dominic Reyes' track record on his chin, and they're giving him Murzakanov, who's KO'd people with jabs. So, and I think people forgot how powerful Murzakanov hits. Like, because of the Paulo Costa loss, people kind of forgot Murzakanov. He's not crap. He's not shit. It's just Paulo Costa is really good, and it was a really bad stylistic matchup for him. For the size and how Paulo Costa, drills in them body kicks. And that was a really bad stylistic matchup for Azamat Murzakanov. I do think he's going to win this one. I think Reyes is just going to walk on something stupid. Reyes might win the first 2 rounds and walk on something stupid. Then again, the fight of Johnny Walker, he might just stay on the outside, jab at range, and have a boring 3-round decision just because he's so scared of getting knocked out. But yeah, I do think the UFC want Dominic Reyes gone. I don't know what, just trying to cover up that John Jones robbery from for a few years ago. That's what they're still trying to do. But either way, again, it's 2 decently big names in the light heavyweight division fighting again, top 10 heavyweights, light heavyweights. Sorry, I don't mind that. Abbas Magomedov versus Cam Ralston. Cam Ralston's getting a ranked opponent. Again, no, these are meta rankings, so I don't think Magomedov's even ranked. But that's an interesting fight. Cam Ralston's getting a big step up because he's been fighting, not the best opponents. Magomedov's definitely a step up. I think he's a former ranked guy. So that's a good fight for Cam Ralston. His last fight was really boring though, Cam Ralston. I can't remember who he fought. It was on the Perth card. Who did he fight? Oh, I think it was some Polish fella. I can't remember his name. But either way, it's a good step up for Cam Ralston. Nikita Krylov versus Abdul Rahman Yakayev. Yakayev getting a ranked opponent. I think Krylov's still ranked. But yeah, the UFC just don't like Krylov. They don't like Reyes. They don't like Krylov. You know what I mean? I don't think Krylov's actually broken his jaw then. Everyone was saying that after the Bobby Knuckles fight. I don't think he broke his jaw. He won't be back this soon if he did. Yeah, Rahman Yakayev, one of the hottest prospects in the UFC. Actually doesn't have as much hype as I think he should have around him. I think after this fight he will, because obviously this is on a pay-per-view, so more people are going to be watching because he's fought on cards that maybe aren't to have the most eyes on them. But Nikita Krylov's chinny as fuck. He could pull out a crafty vet performance like he did against Modestas Bukauskas, but I think Yakayev's going to slime him out, boy. He's going to slime him out. And Grant Dawson versus Nurullah Aliyev. Jeez, this has potential to be either an amazing hate watch or just the most boring fucking fight you've ever seen. Aliyev, Dawson's not the most entertaining himself. Don't get me wrong, but Aliyev's on a whole different level, son. This guy is so boring. It's just play. I don't think the guy has ever had a finish. Will Aliyev ever get a finish? Of course he won't. Why? What a stupid question. Either way, Grant Dawson is either gonna let me have the most successful hate watch since Ian Gary and Islam Makhachev and slime out Nurullah Aliyev, or it's going to be a boring 30-27 decision where Aliyev wins. Grant Dawson is quite big compared to Aliyev, or am I like seeing, when I see Aliyev fight, it doesn't seem that big for lightweight, as Grant Dawson's a decent size. Either way, this is only about 9 fights, so I'm sure there's going to be some other fight added to the card, but this is a decent little card. Obviously the main and co-main are amazing, and I don't mind some of the fights on here. There are some weird matchmaking. Arnold Allen, Aaron Pico's weird matchmaking. This is a bit dodgy, but again, these are all good fights anyway. Arnold Allen versus Aaron Pico is going to be a good fight, even besides the matchmaking. Volk of Kuniev has potential to be really good, but then also has potential to be a little bit like tippy-tappy, stay out of range kind of fight. But either way, it's top 5 heavyweights, and Volkov is just going to go on a streak of beating every single heavyweight until he never gets a title shot, because the guy will never get a title shot. If you can, the UFC just doesn't like Volkov. If the Garn robbery wasn't enough, they're not going to ever give this guy a title shot or another fight of Garn. They're never going to do that. The guy has beaten every single. I think the guy was like, how long of a win streak was he on before the Garn fight? I don't know, but since then he's beaten Jailton Almeida. He's beaten like Pavlovich, Jailton Almeida, what's his name? Waldo, and he might beat Kuniev here. These are all guys in the top 10 heavyweights, or 3 top 10 heavyweights. Volkov's never going to get a title shot though because the UFC hate him. Kavanagh, obviously fun to watch. Temerov, just a ball of tense muscle, do you know what I mean? But Temerov, I guess he's exciting to watch, even though he's a little steroid and popping rat, whatever you want to call him. This has potential to have a lot of slime outs on the card. Reyes versus Mirzakhanov, slime out potential. Krylov, Rakhmanyakev, slime out potential. You know, there's some real good potential. This could be a really fun card. We did get some other fight announcements for some like fight nights in the Apex, but I think Brady Bonfim in the Apex, and then Raul Rosas Jr. versus Raoni Barcelos. Like, come on, what is Raul Rosas Jr. versus Raoni Barcelos as a main event in the Apex? No one's buying tickets to that, son. No one's buying tickets. That Apex is going to be empty. Dana White, you upgraded the Apex for nothing because no one's going to be there. I wouldn't pay money to watch that. Either way. Thanks for watching, boys. This is my early kind of breakdown of all the fights that got announced for the UFC 333 card last night on the broadcast. I'm interested to see what they do or what they announce soon for the UFC 332 card, because that's coming up even sooner than this one. But either way, cheers for watching, boys, and see you in the next one. Peace.